It's my first podcast, so... Hello everyone, my name is Selwa. I would love to define myself as a wanderer of the world, whatever that means. And I've been always fascinated by conversations. Of course, knowledge can come from many sources, books, movies, songs, or maybe just because I am an artsy person, that's where my knowledge comes from. But conversation has been a huge window for me to just explore other perspectives. And so that's why I started this podcast. And for me, I invite people that I felt that they were eye-opening at some points in my life about different things. And I am very much honored today to be joined by one of them. But for that, because his resume is too long, I could not fit it into my little brain, so I had to get some help, but bear with me. So we have today, I'm very honored, first of all, to join Mr. Rodrigo Zeidan. He's a professor of practice in business and finance at NYU Shanghai, chief of sustainability liaison for NYU. He's also a visiting professor at
Fundação Dom Cabral.
There you go. I will work on my Spanish, I promise.
Portuguese.
Portuguese? Oh, okay.
Portuguese, yes.
So I got the language wrong. Anyways, and a senior scholar at the Center for Sustainability Business at NYU Stern. He writes regularly as columnist for many magazines. And he's like, I'm not interested, but he's an author, and one of the most anticipated books, at least for me, Victims of Growth, is coming soon. Oh, I shouldn't have announced that. I should have let him to do that. But anyways, I'm very much honored to be joined by you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
So first and foremost, I'm trying to establish some sort of a habit in the podcast. So this podcast feels to me like a celebration of conversations. So what's the conversation that maybe you would recall and you'd be like, oh, like that was a fundamental conversation for me in my life that changed like something about me, if you can recall that.
There are always conversations that matter, right? With people that you respect. I had the privilege of having many mentors,
yes.
Professors and colleagues and co-authors, and like Maria da Graça, Edson Peterli for sure, explaining to me about the world. So mostly with people that meant a lot to me, mentors that challenged me intellectually, but also conversations with books sometimes by myself, reading books because knowledge is hard, knowledge requires conflict. So I had a lot of conversations in my head as well. But then again, maybe it's a psychiatric disorder and I shouldn't say too much about that.
Well, that's fair. What's your favorite, what would you say, your favorite book?
You were talking about, no, favorite book and most important book are two different things.
Okay.
Favorite book is going to be comic books always. Those are the foundations of it. Is why I decided to learn English and stuff like this. Those are different than most important book. Well, the most important book ever published was Principia Mathematica by Isaac Newton, but that didn't influence me because there is no way I can read. I'm not a math person. In the sense of I did have a math degree, but the most surprising book I ever read was Don Quixote in Spanish, because I didn't expect much, right? It's a 16th century, 17th century, early 17th century romance, and I thought I'm going to read it because it's going to be. No, it was amazing. It's one of the deepest romances that. It's completely contemporary in a way that is mind-boggling. That alone showed me that there are many surprises to be found in classic literature or classic works, and put me into a rabbit hole of reading classic stuff. Some of it is, well, let's say outdated, but a lot of it is great. But I do have another answer now, which is Memórias Póstumas de Brás Cubas by Machado de Assis, which is by far the best Brazilian writer of all time, and the only one to be considered in the pantheon, really.
What is it about, if you can get us closer?
It's also a romance,
okay.
and it has one of the darkest lines in the history of literature. Okay. But it's about a guy talking about his adventures from beyond the grave.
From beyond the grave?
Correct. It's the Huma's Memoirs of Bras Cubas. So he's writing after he's deaf.
That's how curiosity can get
Yes.
you too far away to
Yeah.
that. Okay, so I will get you back from the world of romance a little bit and speak about economy. So I think you're an economist.
Correct.
That's correct, okay.
Correct.
Why did you choose that? When did you realize that economy was this thing that you want to pursue in terms of a career, at least?
Yes, it doesn't work like this. Like decision making, we like to tell our stories in retrospect, and it's nothing like that at all. I didn't want to be an economist. It's not something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to do philosophy or biology or something like this.
Okay.
It's just that I didn't want to be poor. And being a philosopher in Brazil in the early 90s would be, it's like testament to becoming a friar and taking a poverty vow. So I became an economist because I'm good enough with numbers, and it offered a path to not being poor.
Oh.
Then I decided that I'm good at it. I happen to have the help of mentors, going to academia, and I realized I like working by myself, and I could teach. So again, a lot of luck in the meantime, but it's not something that I chose consciously at all. It's just something that I needed to do because I needed to have a future that didn't involve working for very bad wages in a middle-income country.
Okay. I mean, I think honesty is always appreciated, but also you are good at it. I mean,
Well, hopefully, right?
You have gone so far. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think.
Yeah.
So, but how would you, if you were to explain the word economy to somebody that has no idea who cannot comprehend things in a holistic manner, what is the watered down version of trying to explain what economy is to somebody?
It's about decision making that involves buying and selling something, more or less. That would be the easiest definition. But really, the way that I think about economics is about decision making. It's about understanding how people make decisions and how those individual decisions become collective decisions, and how governments behave and how people in government behave, and sometimes misbehave.
Okay, and would you say that involves other fields as well?
Of course, it's a social science.
It's
Right? Like when you ask me about books, I start with romance.
Yes.
People are informed by everything. So economics is about everything. It's about history. It's about, as I tell my students in EGB, there are a lot of economic problems that cannot be answered with economic tools. For instance, even simple questions as why some countries are rich and some others are not, cannot simply be answered by economics. You need sociology, you need history, you need anthropology, and a lot of it is simply luck. Sometimes people don't realize that a country is rich just out of happenstance, because somebody made a decision 200 years ago that they even didn't know what they were doing, and it happened to set the country in the right path. And other decisions compounded on this. And some social arrangement that seem obvious in retrospect were not obvious at the time. Again, you need way more than economics just to answer the simple question of why are some countries rich and some others are not. Economics take a shortcut. We talk about institutions, but that's just because is a shortcut to all these different historical processes that we are not as good at describing as other fields. Okay,
so basically what you're trying to say is that economy is not a number and should not be shortened to that.
But there is no single discipline like this, right? I still remember, you don't have physics without higher math, right?
Yes.
Albert Einstein needed tensors and needed new developments in non-Euclidean geometry to develop his physics. Up until a few years ago, people were talking about abolishing the Nobel Prize in Chemistry because supposedly, the study of chemistry was almost over, and now we have all of these amazing developments in a lot of subfields of chemistry. So we've look at AI and computing and computer science and what is bringing to the world. No, knowledge is not contained. We divide those in disciplines just for some social arrangement. But again, it's in the past, science was called natural philosophy. It was about how to explain the world. we branch out of natural philosophy because specialization, mostly because of numbers, right?
Yes.
Because people dedicated themselves to small parts and we needed, and today we have the scale to be able to talk about fields and subfields and narrow specializations, but it's all natural philosophy.
Since we are talking about the social aspect of economy, which is something that I'm deeply interested in also on a human scale, I think so many people from across the world, I mean, if they see this, they would love to know what kind of pattern that you might want to contrast between maybe a country that is developing and a developed country. Or like, I mean, the terms are very controversial.
No, they're not controversial. They're controversial because people like to make controversies out of nothing. I don't mind calling a poor country poor. It's like Brazil was poor, Brazil is now middle income, and Brazil is not going to be rich anytime soon. But
why would
really,
you say so?
Nah, because I'm going to define development in one word.
Okay.
Trust. You can only have development with trust. Trust is a very fundamental concept.
Trust in whom?
Exactly. So trusting whom? It's not about necessarily trusting each other, but is it trusting governments? Is trusting the rules, that the rules are going to be played out, and the rules they're not necessarily fair, but they are transparent. Is trust that if you work hard, you're going to see the benefits of the fruits of your labor. Trust that if you build something, somebody cannot simply take it away. Trust that you can go to work and you don't have a gun pointed to your head. There are so much levels of trust.
But that's a definition of a country without corruption.
Corruption is part of it, right? To an extent, a country can develop with corruption. We call greasing the wheels in social sciences. That is corruption that doesn't matter too much, and that there's corruption that really matters. But that is the point. It's like just to show that it's not really about corruption only. Because I can make a case for instance, China developed 40 years, and it's not like corruption is over in China, right? The anti-corruption campaign is now 13 years and counting, and it's not going to be over anytime soon.
The world is going to be surprised by that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of corruption, but a lot of the corruption in China was corruption about doing stuff, right? It's like you pay under the table so you can build stuff, so you can accomplish things, and that is, of course, not ideal by any means, but it's something that does not prevent a society from escaping poverty, like in the case of China, right?
But then how do you get the people to trust the government while there is still corruption? Like how does that is possible?
Again, because changes dynamic is not static, right? I can tell a story about a former girlfriend of a friend of mine. It's in my new book, in which she moved to Shanghai because she opened a business in Hangzhou. She was doing well, and suddenly a local cadre, a local authority, pretty much told her that either you give me 50% of your business for nothing, or I'm going to use the power that I have in this locality to crush you. And she decided she decided for a third option, which is like closing the company and moving to Shanghai. This is the kind of stuff that happened in China in the late 90s. It's not something that you expect to happen in Shanghai today. I don't think it happens in Shanghai today. So this change is dynamic, right? It's even corruption. It's about the delta. It's about how it's changing over time, right? So if the more people can trust, there are feedback mechanisms that build trust, right? It's like, because for instance,
as long as the government is responding to the demands or like to the complaints.
No, you don't need to go. So first of all, people in China don't necessarily trust the government, right?
Okay.
You can have trust just that the rule of law is about enforcing written trust, right? It's supposedly you don't need software mechanisms of trust because you have the rule of law, which is of course not how it works in real life. If you go to Denmark, where the rule of law is one of the strongest in the world, and I've taught there for 15 years.
Yes.
The basic levels of trust in each other is so fundamental to the success in that society But that was built over bloodshed, it was built over unions, it was built over conflict, it was not overnight trust, right? We look at Scandinavia, for instance, today, and see the societies that people think they are amazing, and they are to some extent, but they were also not built overnight. So there was a lot of problems, and there was a lot of conflicts that were solved over time. And you build rules, and you build a structure that can work. And here's the thing: it's not about the government; it's about the state, because governments come and go. So you cannot build a society based on a government, because China is an example, Brazil is another. Mm-hmm. If you have a bad government, yes, it destabilizes the country, right?
Absolutely.
So no, it's not about governments. It's about the state. It's about, can you trust the state? And it's not even that the state must take care of you or take care. The social contract in the West is different than the social contract in China, right? The state has its mandate, but the state doesn't interfere with a lot of stuff in China that people don't realize, but that is another matter altogether.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the state in Scandinavia is responsible for way more things and different things. So how the social contract evolves also matters. Again, this is not economics, right?
Yes.
But that is
the portion. Yes. I mean, you mentioned China several times, and I guess China is very unique in its way, or at least that's how the general public receives it. Like somebody who has not studied, maybe didn't do much of research, they will see that China is anomaly, or that's how it's perceived. Like in other societies, like in Morocco, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Chinese for us are superhuman beings.
Yeah, for Brazil as well.
You get what I mean?
I think it's...
So there is this misconception about the entirety of how the economy and people work in certain regimes. And would you want to clarify about that part?
It's funny because people don't realize that in many countries you have positive discrimination against foreigners, right? You have xenophilia instead of xenophobia.
Discrimination.
Yeah, but it's true. Like
what is positive discrimination?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. It's like we have this. We have something similar in Brazil, xenophilia, which is the fact that if you see a foreigner of Oriental descent, we immediately assume that they're smarter than we are. Okay. So they are like, no, they're smarter. So it's like, because they study harder, they work harder. It's the same. Which means that Chinese people in Brazil are not discriminated against. Nobody. There is no yellow peril. That's horrible. This horrible term that existed in the U.S. in the 40s, but then again it was the Second World War. Yeah. There is nothing like that in Brazil. Nobody's afraid of the Chinese. It's the opposite. It's like people are like, wow, exactly, overwhelmed by the fact that Chinese are competent and stuff like that.
Yes. How does that play? Like how does it?
So in a way, I don't think the Chinese are special. I think the social arrangement again is similar in Vietnam, is similar in Korea, is similar in Japan. It's not okay. Since this stuff is similar in Japan and China can get me, it's not that similar maybe, but
then what China
human beings are the same everywhere. The Chinese people here want the same stuff that people in Morocco and Brazil and the US and Denmark want, right? Once that gets out of the way, the social arrangement in China is different. Of course it is, right? Is the social contract is different. That for me is the most fundamental difference. Is that the social contract is different, and the fact that in China there is a mechanism of social climbing that has existed for over 1,500 years.
Social climbing?
Yes, that doesn't exist anywhere else.
What's that?
Keiju is the imperial exam. Is the fact that in the 6th century or the 7th century, the emperors at the time created what became the imperial exam that was open to every Chinese man, then later to Chinese women as well, of any age, in which you pass this exam, you are part of the empire. You are part of the imperial bureaucracy. If you pass at the highest rank, you go to Beijing. So it means that no matter where you're born in the empire, you can have the dream to get out of that whatever situation you are if you study hard and pass the exam. You become part of the imperial bureaucracy. Imagine imagine medieval Europe, right, where people were serfs tied to the land. That didn't exist. There was no social mobility at all. It didn't exist. And the imperial exam, partly because the emperors at the time saw that the bureaucrats, the local bureaucrats were very incompetent. The imperial bureaucracy, before the imperial exam, was populated by 80% by a few families and 20% by outsiders. And in 100 years was the reverse. 80% by outsiders, 20% by the elite families. This exists today in China. That is the social contract in China. You study, work hard enough, and you make it. And you have that in the Zhongkao, and you have that in the Gaokao, right? And that's what.
These are two different exams.
Yes, the Zhongkao is the exam that the Chinese take after they finish the fundamental part of education, in which the exam is designed to fail 50% of the students. If you fail, you go to vocational schools. If you pass, you can go to an academic track. So that is the first one. But that is easy. It's only 50%, right?
Yes. So that's 12th grade?
I think it's ninth grade.
Ninth grade. Okay.
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a Chinese scholar.
Yeah, but then fundamental. Yeah.
And then you have the Gaokao, which is the entrance examination equivalent to the SAT in the US, but in China is binding, right? It's the grade that you get gives you access to the best universities. And the peer exam works today because you go to Tsinghua, you go to Beida, you are part of the elite, right? Because to get into Tsinghua or Beida, if you are from Shanghai, from Anhui, from most provinces, you have to be at the top 0.38% of your province on the Gaokao. Numbers that are like, of each 300 applicants, one get in.
But isn't that similar to the Ivy Leagues?
No, because the Gaokao is an exam that is open to everybody. The Ivy League, first of all, each university has their own entrance criteria.
Okay.
It doesn't work like this. In some countries, you have this very open process of this examination guarantees you access to the best universities. We have the same in Brazil. But in Brazil, it doesn't work like in China. Like in China, you have the entire country that wants to go to very few universities. These universities are ranked. Everything in China is ranked. You have the best universities and the second, blah, 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 blah. It's the same with the schools. And people compete to go to the best schools because best schools are ranked 5 stars, but then they have the best teachers, and they have the best teachers, which means that they have the highest rate of acceptance in the blah, blah. Everything is about competition. Competition is open and transparent. These are the rules that make China different. The fact that competition is open, transparent, and it doesn't cause any sort of social strife because the rules are transparent. If you don't make it, you don't make it. And that's it. It's the family's problem, it's not the state's problem. Again, there's a different social contract. I'm not saying that this is good or bad.
Yes.
But that's it.
That's a good point to transition to the question about like why actually societies need to have financial systems implicated. Like why do we need to have all this? Because then the question becomes like, is it a mechanism of control or is it a mechanism of freedom? And I think in China's case, that's, we always talk about that in terms of...
Yeah, but that question doesn't make sense in many contexts, right? What is freedom? Like, the first freedom is the freedom to the right of life, right? I'm from Brazil where we, if I'm not mistaken, we are responsible for 12% of the murders in the entire world. We are 1% of the world population, not even that.
Yeah.
1%, maybe 2-3%. And we are 12% of the world's homicides. Yes. So people don't have the freedom to that. I had a gun pointed to my head. It's not a pleasant experience. Mm-hmm. When your life is not, you can see that if that person next to you makes a decision, like, so these concepts must be well defined. We cannot discuss about freedom. Yeah, all of these are concepts that are not very well defined in a debate, right? It's like, and also they are socially determined, right?
Yes.
What does it mean? Like, again, I'm in China where every Chinese friend that I have, the first thing that they're going to talk to me, male friends, not female friends, the first thing that every single conversation will start about how their kids are doing at school, right?
That's part of the status, right?
That's part of this, but are they free to put their... Yeah, they are. Like, they have a choice not to have their kids in the rat race, right? And some of them choose not to, right? Some of them choose to take their kids to international schools, whatever. I'm conflicted when we talk about freedom and stuff like this, because what is freedom for a person is maybe not the freedom to another, and then you have social norms that constrain your freedom. Like again, in Denmark, you are free, supposedly, to do a lot of stuff, but society will quickly ostracize you if you make choices that are too unconventional. So is that freedom, not freedom? Like again, it gets bogged into and if we have to define this each concept so we can have a conversation, it becomes difficult.
It becomes difficult.
Yeah.
But of course, my question is a little bit emotionally driven, not necessarily objectively driven. But I mean, if you go to your Instagram, and I'm speaking for my generation at least, you go through Instagram, and then you are flooded with videos about people who wants to be financially independent or financially free. They want to be able to live a life without being concerned about where they're gonna get what from at each point of their life. They don't want to do the 9 to 5. They don't want this. They don't want that. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, but then that's what I say. Like, in order for you to sustain in an economy, that doesn't that conflict? Like, all these ideas conflict with the people in charge.
This is the result of a rich economy. It's the opposite. It is the fact that you have to, in poor economies, you don't have a choice.
Absolutely, yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
So you don't have a choice.
Yes.
You are poor, you don't have a choice. You don't want to work 9 to 5, tough. We don't care. You work or you die.
Yes.
Right? That is the story of many nations even today, many immigrants and stuff like this.
Absolutely.
The only reason why my stepson can decide whatever he wants to do, and these people are saying, oh, I don't want to do 9 to 5, is because they have a choice. Is because they have the freedom that most people in the world don't have. Most people in the world must work.
That's so interesting. So actually, in the time and era where we say that we don't have control, we have the most control.
The most, and the problem is not this. It's the same as, I remember a student in Denmark that came to me, and I had a student here at yeah, they come to me and say, I need an A. I said, Denmark people can be very direct. I don't mind that at all. I learned how to do that. I said, finish the sentence. What do you mean? No, you're not here to tell me you need an A. You're here to tell me that you need an A, but you're not willing to work hard. That's what you're telling me. Right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same with these people. I don't want to work 9 to 5, but I also don't want to work hard. Then I don't care.
Yes.
I'm sorry. That is not life. That is not life. Again, we have literally billions of people in the world today that wake up doing jobs that they couldn't care less, doing jobs that they need to do to feed their families. That's the history of my family, is the history of many people's family, right? It's like, I'm sure that my grandfather didn't want to be a farmer and didn't want to immigrate and didn't want to open like that. Those are not choices. My grandfather and my grandmother, they need to do that to survive. Right? My grandmother, after they had a little bit of money, she hired somebody to teach her how to read and write when she was 49.
Yeah.
Right? So no, I'm sorry. Like, people have choices. People are privileged. They shouldn't feel guilty for being privileged. That is absolutely fine. I wish I were privileged. Maybe I would be way lazier, which is also fine. You are allowed to be lazy, but no, you have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want. So I do not care very much about this sort of complaints about, oh, I want this and I want that, and that is the result of. So here's the thing: nobody's going to work as hard as somebody that must work to survive. Right? I will never work that hard.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the whole point of the people that work very hard to survive is so their kids can have choices. Right? So we cannot have it both ways. We cannot have a wealthy society where everybody's ready to work hard, and a society where people have choices. Those are incompatible.
Choice is not free.
No, choices is freedom.
No, choice is not out like without cost.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
cannot have. You
you
cannot
cannot
have.
have.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't. So I'm sorry, you can't. You want to have the choices, you're gonna have to pay the cost. You want to be financially independent. Go work your ass off. So what do you mean? If you're not good enough, and you need luck, and you need this, and you need that, it's not only up to you. And if you are of different gender, it's going to be difficult. If you're this, if you're that, it's going to be difficult. Sure, the world is unfair.
Yes.
Right, and we need to work very hard to make the world fairer. Right, but
that's
you either take
quo.
your life. Yeah, but you either take your life on their own hands or you don't.
Yeah, you cannot wait for life to be perfect
No,
and then
exactly.
work accordingly.
No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
Fair.
And again, just talk to somebody who needs to work. If they don't work, they don't have enough to eat. And then you say, oh, okay, then I'm lucky, so it's fine. Then I have the choice to brood and to watch YouTube instead of working like I was doing for half of the day today.
Okay, that is fair. But you're also touching on the mentality of people when they're dealing with the financial choices or like whatever they're gonna do with their lives, right? And so of course many people wonder, and of course we got so many books, self-help book being extremely viral, at least like financial stuff, right? And so like people always do this distinction between the mentality of a poor person and the mentality of a rich person. Is that a myth? Is that something
it's a myth in the sense that nobody knows how to be a rich person. I literally have this book that I wrote.
Nobody knows how to be a rich person?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because again, people that are rich, everybody on average, everybody's miserable, which is funny, right? So I very
miserable emotionally?
Yeah, everybody sleeps alone. I met so many. I've done executive education for years, and I never met a well-adjusted, wealthy person, right? And I understand why. Nobody teaches you what it is to really have choices, right? So the person who builds a business, they work very hard because the end is the business. And then they become successful and they don't know what to do. Nobody teaches you how to live in a world of infinite choices. We have infinite choices.
Yes.
Right? People in the past, they would wake up, go to work very hard to survive, and go back home. Mm-hmm. People 200 years ago, leaving their hometown was once in a lifetime event. Right?
Yes.
And now people can fly everywhere. People have infinite choices. There is no self-help book for living in a world with infinite choices. Because choices it's not necessarily about money. People believe that it is. So people, okay, so I will start enjoying when I have money. Sure, and then you have money. But you still don't know how to deal with infinite choices. And now you have infinite choices without money, which is amazing. Because, when I was growing up, I could read the books that I could find.
Yes.
I was restricted. My household was not very literate, so by the age of whatever, 10 or 11, I had read every single book in the house, right? So I was reading encyclopedias to entertain myself at times. That's what I could read. So you don't have infinite choices. Oh, people don't play around in the playgrounds anymore. No, people have infinite choices. We play in the playgrounds because we didn't have a choice, because there was nothing to do, right? And then you start realizing, no, at 11 a.m. there's going to be this cartoon. Then, okay, have a P&A, and you cannot miss it because it's at 11 a.m. Otherwise, it's only at 11 a.m. a week from now, right? And I have infinite choices. Nobody knows how to make decisions with infinite choices.
So when you have infinite choices, you become more and more miserable.
Yes, it's the paradox of choice, right? That is psychology. That's what I mean. Like, it's not about economics, right?
Yeah.
We have shown there's analysis paralysis by analysis, right? When you have too many choices, your welfare goes down. That is all around us, right?
And so all the advice circulating on social media about like if you invest more or like if you actually do this digital business that runs,
you're going to be miserable. The only way not to be miserable is to understand your limitations and how to live how to make the most out of the infinite choices you have. Choices that you want.
So you will acquire more money, but then with more money comes with more choices, and then it's for no reason or no end.
Exactly, like the wealthiest person in the world seems to be a miserable person. Doesn't seem to be happy at all.
I remember this point you made in one of your conferences when you said, I woke up one morning and I wanted to play tennis. I didn't come to school, I just went to play tennis or something like that.
That's why I'm an academic.
And you said that one of the skills that people should learn is where just stop. Like where not to acquire more in terms of money.
Well, yeah, of course. Like money has diminishing marginal returns. Like this is something that you learn in economics that is very basic. People don't think about money this way, but it's very simple. The first $100 in your monthly paycheck is more important than the second $100. That is more important than the third. That is more important than the fourth. So what is the value of this semester I was offered 3 classes extra to teach for more money. I accepted 2, but I didn't accept the third because I didn't want to work more because I wanted to play tennis. Doesn't mean that I don't work hard. But it's like, I also not going to kill myself for some extra money that I have that I'm going to spend on what? I already give my money back to the students via pizzas and cakes.
That is a great ritual. That's one of your great rituals I love so much.
It's fine.
Speaking of all these trends that are going around, sustainability became the it factor in everywhere. Like all businesses want to be sustainable.
All business claim that they want to be sustainable.
Yes, that's more accurate. I would take that. And seems like, in the government planning 2 years to come, they're trying to incorporate this sustainability factor. Are we heading, because it seems like, or many people speak about it, like we're headed towards a much more sustainable economical system. What would you say about that?
That is not how again, go back to biology.
So much naive, naive.
No, it's not naive. It's like, just go back to biology. Just look at natural selection. People talk about natural selection like natural selection has an end goal. It doesn't. Natural selection is a mess. We look at our bodies, and a lot of our bodies don't make sense at all, right? Like we have nerves that are connected badly. We have nerves that to go from here to here, they go all the way through the body. That makes no sense because natural selection is not linear, and it's the same with sustainable development. It's not linear. A lot of the management of sustainable development is management by trauma. So what happens is that you have a big crisis, and that is the only way that we're going to do something about it, right? We saw that, for instance, in water management in big cities. Cape Town, São Paulo, anytime that, we're going to run out of, go back in time, and in Cape Town we had many, beautiful city, by the way. You have many news articles 10 years ago, maybe, saying, Cape Town was going to go dry by this because it was going to run out of potable water. Of course it didn't, right? Why? Because, now that things are going to get really bad, now we're going to do something. That's how we're going to do it, right? So a lot of companies that claim that they want to be sustainable, they will act when there is a consequence. They will be reactive, which is normal. That's how we do it, right? It's the same with students and exams. If the students believe that an exam is easy, the student is not going to do anything. He's not going to study very hard, right? If the student thinks he or they can get an easy A, and then the first exam comes and they get a C, the student will realize, I have to work hard. I have to do something about it. In a way that is also like company policy. There's also public policy. A lot of public policy is reactive in that way.
Yes. So just to summarize it, it's just that people will act when it's time for them, when they feel the need to do so.
When they have the incentive, not the need. There's no need. There are incentives and consequences and stuff like that.
So the urgency.
Yeah, the urgency.
But they are real. Like, would you say that all the
What do you mean?
like the kind of measures they're trying, because some
Climate change is real, of course it's real.
No, of course, no, it's not.
Like,
No, it's not what I'm speaking about. But just like when so many brands claim that they're trying to use certain fabrics other than other stuff, like, you know, trying to minimize the harm.
There are some proactive measures, yes.
Yes.
But these proactive measures, they are usually not the largest expenditure of a company. Just look at BP after the oil spill, the Deep Horizon, right? After you have an accident, that's when you spend the most. I wish that were not true, but just go to any large company, you're going to see that the sustainability department usually is small and doesn't have a lot of say compared to, let's say, whatever department is making the company a lot of money. Unfortunately, that is it's just the reality of businesses and sometimes of governments as well. A government will only move when there are incentives to do so. Like the Shanghai government didn't help the city get less polluted out of the kindness of their heart. Mm-hmm. Is that Shanghai became rich enough that people are like, okay, we have money, but we don't wanna die out of pollution, right? It's also like there's central planning, blah blah. There's a lot of incentives at play. And also the fact that in China these incentives can sometimes be transparent too. The mayor of Shanghai puts on the contract of the party that one of his targets to be able to be promoted is to get pollution down to a certain level. So they're going to work with it. There's a real incentive, there's a real target, and that's how things change.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about change. The transition is always hard, and we have been in a dilemma for many years because some people were just urging, you know, like the people in charge to just move on in the direction that just like shut down everything. Let's do it sustainable, like fully. And then other people goes like, well, our economy is not built that way, and so you gotta respect.
I have a lot of Danish students like that.
Yes.
And they claim that no, because we don't need all of that. And then I look at them with their Mac Air, and the first thing that I ask them is, oh, so you also don't need a Mac Air. So why don't you have a pen and paper instead of a laptop? You don't need this laptop. You're clearly not taking notes, right? These are again. Whenever people say that government should do this or A or B, yes. As long as people have skin in the game and they show these are the costs, we should pay these costs. That is fine. I don't mind that at all. When people just say, oh, we should do this and that's the government's problem, I don't have much patience for those arguments.
Yeah, okay, fair. But would you say that the government, like that the people, like from a perspective that's outside, if people are willing to give up all the privileges they have in terms of what you're speaking about, would you say that would you say that a transition right now is the best thing, or like is it easy to transition from an economy that's not based on?
No, that is what do you mean? It's easy. Like that is non-linear. Is huge. Is like change is incremental by nature. Okay. We rarely have change. Like, there are success stories, right? There is the Montreal Accord that helped solve the ozone layer issue, right? Because it was urgent enough. Yes. And also the cost was low, right? It was like we mostly tied this to CFC, which is okay. So we could tie to a few industries, and we could help those industries transition. Was a solvable problem. Was an easy problem. Sustainability is a completely different beast, right? Because it has so many aspects, has so many interconnections. Change is incremental in nature. We have to accelerate the change. Well, like universities, places where supposedly this debate should be all the rage. I do not know of any sustainable university in the world, in the sense of universities that, like, we are sitting inside an university with a lot of lights and a lot of cameras, a lot of stuff that we could also claim that we don't need. But that is not real life. Real life is not about needs. Real life is not about that, and change is incremental in nature. And if you want something that is much more transformative, somebody has to take a lot of risks for that to happen. That is a reason that revolutions don't happen very often, because revolutions require that somebody puts their life on the line, and most people want to shout from the rooftops as long as nobody shouts back at them.
That's a good one. And speaking of, there were I remember that you have spoken on one of the many conferences that I tried to attend about buying a house, like the depth that we get from our parents or generations that came before us in terms of our financial decisions. Would you say that?
That's what I mean. People don't know how to be rich. In a lot of cultures, people should believe that buying real estate is a great investment. Again, if you want to live like you are in the 19th century, it is. And in many countries like Brazil, the reason that people think tie real estate to a good investment is because we've been through hyperinflation in the 1980s and 1990s. Mm-hmm. And yes, if you're going to go through hyperinflation, real estate is great as a reserve of value. But I don't think Brazil is going to go through hyperinflation. Most countries will not go through hyperinflation very soon. So real estate is just an investment like any other that you can make. If you can use leverage, if interest rates are low, maybe it's something that... But it's also something that if it takes a lot of time to manage, mm-hmm. there's no way I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend time managing somebody, renting my place is like... And a lot of times, if you give somebody a home, they say, this is your home, that person's choices in terms of career get actually narrower. Because then you don't want to take a job that is too far away, you start optimizing for being close to that home, you become less mobile, you become less geographically mobile, your future income actually goes down. So there are a lot of traps with real estate that people don't understand. It just reminds me of all those places around the world that were amazing in the past and today are slums.
Absolutely. And
I realized people that bought houses in those places actually made some money. I don't think so, but
it's
for every person that bought a house in New York in the 1970s, that is somebody that built a beautiful house in the middle of nowhere in the US that is now going derelict. So again, real estate is like any investment. If you do it well, it's going to make you money. Mm-hmm. And if you do it badly, it's going to lose you a lot of money. So
it shouldn't have that much hype.
I continue wanting to go through life without owning real estate, yes.
Yes, fair enough. Since you are an economist and I haven't used you enough in that role, I guess many people would want to know how, like students maybe, this is a question for them, how to analyze the economy of any country in the world, like what it narrows down, like what's the methodology, how we get there, what's the thing to look at, what are the indicators that might be really misleading or that they don't play a role in the long run.
At the end of the day, you're going to look at countries that are building solid, robust institutions. We had a wonderful student here at NYU Shanghai, and he invited me to talk to people in Zimbabwe. And they wanted to know something very simple, which is, look, you don't need to tell us about our problems. We know our problems. We don't care. Don't come to me to tell me that Zimbabwe has this issue or this issue. Like, we know all of this.
We know.
Okay. We want to solve this. Like, how should we start?
Very easy question.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I'll give something that is workable, right? So you have to break a huge problem in pieces. Mm-hmm. Look, this is what you do. And again, it takes time. So the problem is not this. The problem is that they want something that they can do that is going to solve everything quickly. That doesn't exist. For Zimbabwe, Brazil, Morocco, or anywhere else in the world, that doesn't exist, right? Look at China.
I tried to get you the answer.
China has grown like crazy for 40 years and is still a middle-income country, right? It doesn't work like that. It's not overnight. And I told you, like, in the case of Zimbabwe, since you have many intractable problems like Brazil, what you do is you start building islands of excellence. You say, look, we cannot solve corruption everywhere, but we're going to find this institution, let's say the central bank or the tax authority or this or the export-import authority, whoever it is. Mm-hmm. And go say, this one is going to be globally competent. This is the one where we're going to rebuild from the ground up, and corruption is not going to be tolerated, right? Not every country can do like Singapore, have a top-down government on a new country that makes all the decisions like this. But not that is the only path or the right path. But this is what you do. You build an island of excellence. Once that is working, you build another. And then you build another. And those things start to spread out. That is one way to do it. That is tractable. You choose one that is going to be your target. You build that, and you build that with enough well-designed incentives that this thing cannot be corrupted over time.
That's very interesting. That's a great idea. Would you say that's a little bit similar to the way the UAE is doing things?
I do not know enough about the UAE to answer that. But maybe, first of all, the UAEs are seven different emirates.
Yeah, yes. Like you've got Abu Dhabi, you've got Dubai to be like very leading cities.
Yeah, but at the same time, they were burned because they threw a lot of money at some foreign expertise that burned them, right? So it's complicated. It doesn't work like this. It's not that easy. But yeah, they are not. They have done a lot of things right. So I don't know if Islands of Excellence is something like this, but if I'm not mistaken, the UAE now, Abu Dhabi is allowing competition in banking, right?
Yes.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's not something that you would expect when the main bank in Abu Dhabi is owned by, right, owned by the government. So again, maybe that is the path. That is the path they're taking, but I don't know enough to really judge.
So you have spoken about the solution to the Zimbabwe problem by construction.
No, not the solution.
No, like the potential.
Yeah,
the
I
potential.
gave one path to people who are really willing to risk. Like I'm nobody in that area.
No, that is fair. But if somebody at least like Zimbabweans know their problems, for other countries that don't really know how they can narrow the problem down, how do you analyze?
Yeah, then you have there is always smart people around that know how to. But again, the hard part is that a lot of people want to point at problems, but they are not willing to risk anything to see them being solved. That is very easy, right? To criticize stuff. That's what I mean about I'm nobody in the case of Zimbabwe. Like ideas are plentiful. Like this is nothing.
Yes.
Right? It's all about implementation. $1 billion ideas don't exist. What exists is can you implement them or not? Right? And again, I think that is the same anywhere. You need people who are willing to implement, not only people who want to dream about solutions.
But then when you're going in the streets, I think we can all be propagandists at some level, and we can always be like, oh, we are corrupted, or oh, we're given money. Like one of the critiques we have. So back home, and I'm sorry guys, but that's what I grew up. That's what I know, right? There is a lot of critiques to like a certain ministry taking money, like spending money on entertainment is looked down upon. You get what I mean? So many, like if you go to somebody's like, why we're not doing well, they will be like, oh, we're just like putting our money in the entertainment sector and it's not serving us well. So, we can be all propagandists in terms of like saying what's the problem is, but then like if we are being objective and we want to really, like if experts want to know how to do it, is my question.
So again, you have to have people willing to risk. I'm not going to talk about Morocco, but if you tie the whole Arab Spring of 2011,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
One person started it.
Yeah.
What did that person do?
He burned himself.
That's it. That is how. That's it. Is there anybody? Yeah, that is how real change happens. You have to put. Now, maybe you don't need to go that far. Right?
Maybe that's too much, guys.
Maybe that is too much. But that is how real change happens. And that's why I do not think that intellectuals by themselves are that important. Because it's very easy to design plans, it's very easy to talk in blah, blah, blah. Conversations really matter. I love them. I'm an intellectual in nature. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm not special because I know the solutions. Like the special people are the ones that are willing to risk their lives or risk their whatever. And it's the same in Morocco. It's fine to do propaganda, or to advertise, we should be doing this, we should be doing that.
Yeah.
Go around and run for our election, see how easy that is. You're going to see how hard that is, right?
Yes.
And do that in a way that is not about getting power for yourself, which is even harder, which is why the political system selects for narcissists. But
That's
again,
why they select what?
select for narcissists.
Oh, for narcissists.
Yeah, the political system selects for those that are either want to be perceived as special or right. We need people that are there to shut up and do the work well. But again, it's hard because somebody's risking something, and there is no and in this, finance is amazing. There is no return without risk. It's all about risk-adjusted returns, right? And you don't change a country without somebody paying the price. Hopefully, not regular people, right?
Yes.
But that is the only way.
Fair enough. The last thing, and the last thing for this conversation, and one of the first things I was very much impressed by, is you as a professor. I think that gives me so many flashbacks of some of my greatest professors that I have been in their classes. And you've got a unique way of teaching, I must say this. I've been in your class before. You have a few rules. I don't know if you want to disclose them or not, but you don't like if somebody is asleep in your class.
I don't know. Why would I care?
You don't wake them up. Like you get upset when somebody wake them up.
No, I don't wake them up. Like people are tired. People don't understand. It's like that is the thing about being an economist, and maybe that's something that I learned as an economist, which is people make their own choices and people have to make their own mistakes. And whenever I see people are not reading anymore. Of course they are. They're reading on their cell phones all the time. They're not reading books. They're not reading long form, but maybe they don't want to, right? The fact that I like reading books doesn't mean that everybody should read books. But again, then people are responsible for their choices. The problem is that people don't want to be responsible for their choices, right? They want to sleep and they want a good grade. That is different. But if people want to come to and sleep, like I try not to enforce attendance and stuff like this. Like I treat students like adults, right? And the only thing that I ask them to do is not to make big mistakes, life-altering mistakes, because everybody's gonna go. Like what is the sentence from Oscar Wilde, which is experience is just a collection of mistakes that you made over time, right?
That's your code, guys. Yeah. What's the deal with the pizza? What's the deal with the pizza?
The pizza?
The pizza and the cake.
The pizza and the cake. No, that is just something, I don't know why I created that. It's maybe because that's something that I felt lucky that I was having some extra money for some reason, and I said, why not? It is something. Would I like to have that when I was a student? Yes, right. So why not do it? So I created this, and then I now have some colleagues copying, but I think I was the one that did that.
That initiated.
I think so, especially for large classes, right?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to do that for 3 or 4 students. That is easy. It's completely different to do that to 80. But it's fun. I like it. It's fun. Everybody's happy. And maybe encourage people to study, or maybe encourage people to come. But that is the way that I am. I don't force people to study. I want them to be interested in learning. If not, I'm not doing my job. It's very easy to be a professor when they must listen to you.
Yes.
But then I'm not a professor. Then I'm a preacher. Right? No. Like
But you had this great.
No.
You had this great speech by the last class you did in which you.
You need to be a good person.
Yes.
Yeah, but that is a request that I make. It's not something that is. I would like you to make the choice to be a good person, but I cannot force you, right?
But that speech was very powerful.
Good.
Is that a ritual? You do it every year?
I do it every year.
It's not scripted.
No.
It's every year. It's a new thing.
Every year? No, it's about being a good person. But I don't. It's about being a good person. That is. But I choose different things and stuff like that. And it's very easy because the example that I have, which is, and I understand that example from personal experiences, because the example that I have is like people think that nobody thinks that they're evil, but everybody's capable of doing bad stuff. The example that I give is a couple that goes through a divorce and they start using the kid to hurt the other person. That is a horrible thing to do.
Absolutely.
And people do that all the time, right? It's like, avoiding this is not that hard, right? It's just like, this is just like, okay, I may hate that person that I was with, but like, I'm not going to use my kid to do that. It's like, those are two different things, right?
Or just making the delivery guy wait. I think that was a...
Oh, no, that is something else. That is just basic respect, right? It's understanding that we are privileged because we don't need to run to make a delivery and earn a few kwai if we're there, or be punished if we're late for 2 minutes. Like, that is basic respect to another human being, right? And I should have said that, but you always punch up, never down. If you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at somebody that is a higher position than you. Go fight with them.
That is a rule in comedy.
But that is the thing, right? It's like people don't want to do that because then they risk something, right?
Yes.
If they punch down at a waiter, or they punch down at somebody that they perceive to be at a lower, inferior, that's easy. First of all, people are not inferior just because they're a waiter, but that is another thing. But that is like go scream at the dean and see where they get you.
Yes, that's a great one. I have one guilty question, if I may ask it. Your collections of suits is just incredible. And, it's very unusual for a professor, I guess. Like,
I was a death metal. I spent most of my 20s wearing black, only black and with long hair.
Yeah.
I do stuff that I want to do. The suits are I was coming to China. I'm very tall. I cannot buy clothes here, and I saw that having suits made is not that expensive. I start having them made, and I like them, and now I have fun with them.
And that's your brand now.
Yeah, maybe, but it's also something that increased during the pandemic because there was nothing to do other than order new suits. But.
And you have all the stickers on them.
No, that is different. That is something that I created, and my tailor didn't like it at
Copyright?
first. No, there's no. You can copy it. I don't care. So I said it's like I like death metal, I like heavy metal, I like thrash metal.
Yes.
And we have this in death metal that you have the jackets that are like copied from the military, that you have the patches, right? The battle jackets that is called in metal. And I said, why not make a battle suit since I don't wear leather jackets, and I have a battle suit made and I
take notes, guys.
Yeah, I think it's the first one. I was the first one to arrive at that, but I like it, and it's something that I do.
No, it's absolutely amazing. And by that, I think we reached the end. But before, I would love, because a professor of mine told me, I was in the 10th grade, and he said, it's not about finding solutions, but it's mostly about asking one great question in your life. If you can leave your children with one great question in your life, then you have lived a life that's worth living. Like, in the sense, like, it's really hard to ask the right question, or the most important question, or just, the most useful, efficient question. And I would love for you to leave us with one thoughtful question to think about, or maybe, and we can get our next guest to.
Why do people say all the time, whenever they are learning something, is that going to be useful to me? It's like, all knowledge is useful. Like, what does that mean? It's like, if the only knowledge that you care about is instrumental in nature,
yes,
it means that you're not intellectually curious.
Uh-huh.
And I do not know how it is to live like this, and I wouldn't wish to live like this. All knowledge is useful. Well, maybe that is a stretch. The idea that knowledge is only worth having if it's useful to you.
It's not useful to you. Just like leave with one great question that like it.
No, but so the question is: are you intellectually curious enough?
No, it's like could your mind go further to explore something that, or like question something that has never been questioned before?
Okay, so that is.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's because I'm really concerned about.
It can be something really absurd, Okay. It's not necessarily,
The most important question is, will I be able to see Slayer live again?
Will you be able?
To see Slayer live again.
Slayer?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a band.
about that. Actually, sometimes I like someone to the extent, so I'm like, oh, will I get a second chance? So, yeah, thank you so much for...
My pleasure. It was
thank you so much.
Huge honor. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
And good luck with the project.
Thanks. And this was a conversation between Salwa Tahman and Rodrigo Zeidan, brought to you by me. And I just tried to scratch the surface with him. I don't think I am intellectually good enough in order for me to have a conversation with him, but there you are. Thank you so much, and please enjoy the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you.